Time to take a look now. It's been grabbing headlines around the world with Florence Villeminot. And Florence, one photo that shocked the world a year ago is dominating headlines.
That's right. That's a photo of the body of 3-year-old Alan Kurdi washed up on a Turkish beach. You might remember that photo. It was on the front page of countless newspapers a year ago, and it is today as well. With this question, 1 year on, has the world forgotten Alan Kurdi? This is an interesting piece in The Independent by Robert Fisk, where he says Alan Kurdi really symbolizes an army of dead children. Now, it seems, according to The Independent, like his death did change the world, but only for a brief time. And that's what The Guardian as well agrees on in their editorial today. They say that it seemed at first as if the toddler's death opened European hearts and policy towards refugees. For instance, 2 days after his death, Germany decided to open its doors to thousands of refugees. But 12 months on, those changes have proven to be temporary. You can see here in the headline of this editorial, compassion towards refugees faded very quickly.
But Florence, that's not the only photograph that shocked the world coming out of Syria recently. There's been that photograph that we saw this month of that little Syrian boy called Omran sitting in an ambulance after an airstrike in the northern city of Aleppo.
That's right, and that photo was also on the front page of countless newspapers as well. There's a very interesting report by AFP. Now, this is a report that's been getting a lot of attention on social media. The photos in it are incredibly shocking. So you can see we've decided to blur this. You can see that it's called Les Autres, the Others, and it's written by a man named Abd Doumani. He lives in Douma, and he has been taking photos of the Syrian war for quite some time now. And he says, it's normal for people to get upset by these very iconic photos, like the photo of Omran or Alan Kurdi. But you don't think that they're all alone. There are countless other children going through exactly the same thing. There are countless others now, and there will be countless others as well. He says that as shocking as it is, this is becoming a routine. Massacres have become daily, and it's really a moving piece where he says, children are the first victims of war, and he says there very well could be a lost generation of Syrian children.
Okay, let's move on to some other news coming out of Venezuela. Papers around the world are reporting on that massive anti-government protest that took place on the streets of Caracas on Thursday.
That's right. It's front page news today. Let's take a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal. You can see a photo of that massive demonstration. Droves of anti-government protesters turned out for this march. El País, the Spanish paper, has a quote from just one of these demonstrators where it says, "The Maduro government is the worst in our history." Now, this article reports that opponents had to overcome obstacles to reach the protest. Some traveled for days. Meanwhile, the government decided to block roads, to close tunnels, and arrest opponents. If we look at the editorial in El Mundo, another Spanish paper, it applauds people who took to the streets, who overcame their fears. Despite all the restrictions orchestrated by the Maduro government, this peaceful demonstration was a success. It was a historic demonstration that Maduro cannot ignore.
And how have the papers in Venezuela been reacting to that protest?
Well, I pulled out an opinion piece in Notitarde by a man named Sal Ortega. He's a lawmaker from the ruling United Socialist Party of Venezuela, so the Maduro party. Very different take on this demonstration. He accuses the opposition of wanting to push Venezuela into an atmosphere of violence with no return. This is anti-national and subordinate to the U.S.'s interests. So you can see a very different take on that demonstration there.
And finally, just a very quick word coming out of Georgetown University in the United States.
That's right. You can read about this in the Daily Beast. This is a huge story in the States today, actually. Essentially, Georgetown University, which is located in Washington, D.C., is trying to make amends for its shady past, particularly its ties to the slave trade, and particularly the sale of some 272 slaves in 1838. The university sold these slaves to actually pay off some debts. And now the university is trying to make amends for this and has decided to give the descendants of these slaves an advantage in its admission process. You can see it's trying to atone for its slave trading past.
Okay, Florence, thank you very much for that spin through the international press at this hour. That's all from us for now. There's more world news and headlines coming up after this very short break. Do stay with us live from Paris.